Welcome back to Beauty Marks Podcast and Happy New Year. I'm so excited to be here. I took a well-needed break and we are recording here at the studio at Hi Hello Labs in downtown Orlando in a new studio setup. Let me know what you guys think. I am very excited because I had talked about kind of like changing up the setup to make it more personal with you guys, and Hi Hello Labs delivered and did just that. And so if you have any event, podcast, content creation needs, make sure to reach out to them. And I am excited for what 2024 will bring. If you haven't already, also make sure to subscribe to this podcast and leave a review. All of that helps us to grow this podcast, the audience, the reach. And also, if you want to see the podcast in video, you can check out our YouTube channel and subscribe there for more content. For this month of January, now we're going into February, but so if you are local in Orlando, make sure to check out our She Cultivates events this year. So we actually have our February Friendship Social happening on February 24th. And so if you want to make friends, connect, and just a time to get to know other women locally in Orlando, definitely check out with all the ticket information below at She Cultivates ORL. I feel like this year, I saw this at like it was kind of like a marketing thought of what was going to happen this year. They were talking about how people feel like social media is just like overwhelming with like AI now and just different things that people are going to either want to take more social media breaks or also want to be more in person with people because they feel like it's like this whole world online. And so this is the year for you maybe to challenge yourself to go to an in-person event, maybe something that you like doing, like maybe if you like working out, going to a class, or finding something that brings you joy, but that you're around other people that you can connect with. I feel like that's really important because I feel like a lot of us put a lot of time and energy into like our careers, into other things that like we really invest and learn and try to get better at. But connectedness is so important, and connection with other people is so important. And you'll hear more about that in February with different episodes that I have for you guys there. So I wanted to recap last year with you guys. And I saw a lot of like the year ins and outs videos that were kind of like people were sharing what is in for the year and what is out for them, meaning like what are the things that they want to focus on. And so on today's episode, I'll be kind of going over a recap of what happened towards the end of the year, and then going into this year and like what I'm looking forward to. So for last year, some things that were happening during the holidays, it was like, remember that I told you guys that I had event coordinated my cousin's wedding. And so that was around Thanksgiving weekend. And so it went really well. I feel like when people think about weddings, there's so many things that go into it that I'm like, I cannot see myself doing that at all. Like, it was beautiful, came out nice, but it's just so much work. So props to the people that actually do weddings because it is a lot. We had a lot of fun though. Family came in from Miami, and just seeing her, being celebrated and everybody around was amazing. I feel like the one thing during the holidays that is like good and bad is like the closeness of like family, because it's like you're around your family, but then it's like, all right, we've seen each other, like, all right, I want to do something else. So I tried to balance between like doing stuff and then like doing stuff that I wanted to do with like friends and doing certain events. So I went to a fun cake decorating class, which is so cool. It was my first time doing it, but I've always seen it on like TikTok and Instagram where it's like design your own cake, and they're like super cute. And so locally, there's this girl that she does, and I'll put her information down below, but she does a lot of vintage cakes. And so they're really pretty. So she like did like a step-by-step class, and it was super beginner friendly. So I went with Nia Lisa, one of the girls from She Cultivates. And so we did the class, and like at first I'm like, oh my God, this looks like a disaster, but it's like, trust the process, because it got better and it actually looked really cute. Like I brought it home to my parents, and I'm like, here, like I made a cake for you guys. And they're like, wow, like it looks like really good. I'm like, I was actually very proud because I thought that it was going to be either really bad or like, but it actually turned out really nice. And so I did that activity. I went ice skating also during the holidays, which was fun. I had put that on my list because something that I do every year is that I put like a list of the things that I want to try for the first time, to like get out of my comfort zone. And so that was on my list this year. It was like an improv class, acting classes, which I did last year, and then I wanted to do um, uh, some kind of ice skating, or I don't love roller skating, so I'm like ice skating is a good option. So that was fun. And then I did do an improv class during December. And so it was in front of a lot of white male men, but it was a cool class because it was like about getting out of your head. And so pretty much all the possibilities that come from like you kind of like, let's say they say a category, like, all right, think about holidays. And so it's like you on the fly thinking of certain things and thinking about all the possibilities, and like you kind of like go back to thinking like a child, like when you see all the possibilities, and like kids, like their imagination is just so, there's no bounds to it, but I feel like as adults, we start kind of putting ourselves in like a box of like, this is what this looks like. And so it actually like I did one improv class, and it actually like taught me like a life lesson. I was like, wow, like that was actually something that I can take. Like perfection is boring, and thinking outside the box, like what are the caps to what we can do and create, but sometimes, and I know I'm like that because of my personality, sometimes it's like, no, it has to be this way. And so I feel like that was really good that I did that. And so I really enjoyed the improv class, and of course doing things with my friends. We did like my second annual Christmas party, which was really fun. We did a pajama party, and everyone brings a board. So we had, I guess I had communicated not the best, and we have ended up having like 5 different trays of sweets. And so because some people were going to come later, so I'm like, oh yeah, just bring that. Like, and then it was just so funny because we're like, oh my God, there's so many sweets. Like everyone take a board back home because we have just an overwhelming of sweets. But we also had some like really good drinks, and just time together, and like to wrap up the night, because I wanted to like kind of talk about like with everybody. It was like, let's just share like something that we're proud of ourselves for this year, and like what we're looking forward to next year. And so that was really sweet, because as much as like I love hosting, like that's already one thing, but I feel like I have friendships where it's like one-on-one, and maybe a lot of you guys can relate. It's like you hang out with like one person or 2 people, but I don't really get my whole friend group together unless it's like, for example, like maybe my birthday or like something for my podcast or an event, but it's not like very common for me. And I don't know, I see sometimes girls that have like friend groups that they always hang out all together, but I feel like I'm very like one-on-one. So having all my friends together that are all of different seasons and different like ways that we know each other was really nice. So next year I'm gonna do my 3rd annual party, and then I was just able to take some time also to do what I wanted to of resting. And I did take off a few days off social media, which was really needed. And I had told that to my therapist, like, all right, so I'm taking my time off the podcast, but I actually like want to feel like I rested. Like I want to feel like I really disconnected and like really took it slow, because I feel like usually around this time of the year, it's like, all right, hectic with the holidays. And then it's like, all right, now start the year and like hit the ground running. And then I feel like you're just always on that go, 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 which is like, I'm trying to go back from that. Last year I shared it with you guys a little bit, but I'm still working through it, which is like my cortisol levels being high and my hormones being off. And that was a little bit discouraging. I'm not going to lie. Last year, even though like I had a lot of great things that happened, it was a little stressful because like I wouldn't lose weight, and I felt a lot of like anxiety. Like I felt like my body was on like the fight or flight mode. And I would try to do things. I would journal. I would go for walks. I would do all these different things and nothing was working. I started taking different vitamins and trying to do it organically. And so I'm still on that journey this year. And so I'm doing some things and I will let you guys know how that goes. But it can be discouraging, right? Like it's like those things, it's like even though there's pros, which I talk about that, like social media is a highlight reel, right? And so we post like the fun things, but there are also things that can be frustrating sometimes in life or that can be hard to work through. And so during the holidays, I also wanted to like try to like slow down my body so that I can create better routines. So something that I started doing last year was even like in the morning, because so they say that like if you pick up your phone right away when you wake up, it like spikes your cortisol levels because it's like so much happening on your phone, and then like it already like puts you like on high alert. And so starting off your morning like with not looking on social media, going for a walk, drinking water, not getting coffee right away, which I would do that. Like I would literally drink coffee on an empty stomach. And so now I'm doing things a little differently, going on walks like in the morning, not doing HIIT workouts in the morning because that also spikes your cortisol levels. And so those are just things that like I was working on during the break. And so it was good because I'm trying to like heal my body naturally, and even like cooking at home. Let me tell you guys, I told y'all I don't cook, but the past like 2 weeks I've been cooking at home. Probably today I'm going to eat out, but for most of my meals have been at home and I've made them and I feel like good about them. And so I've been trying to eat also things that are less inflammatory for my body. And so yeah, so that's kind of what I was doing during the break. And I did a new tradition for New Year's, because I know that usually around New Year's time, you probably see on social media, like everybody's highlight reel, everybody's like recap. And something that I started last year, which I'm so glad that I did, was that I got a jar and I put all the good moments, answered prayers, or just good things that I'm grateful for that were happening throughout the year. So every week I would write down on a little sticky note, just like something that happened, like hung out with this friend that I hadn't seen in a long time and we had a great time, or went on my first date after being 27 years old, like, went on my first date and it went well. I started recording my Hi Hello Labs podcast video. That all happened last year. And just different examples. So like I would write down different things that would happen. And at the end on New Year's Eve, I opened it. And so reading each one, so literally after the whole year, because I feel like around the holidays too, at least what happens to me, which honestly did happen this year too, it's like I get the blues and I get just like a little sad. Sometimes like the relational stuff of like not being in a relationship, it still gets to me. It's still not easy. I haven't had someone during the holidays for a few years now. And so working through that, working through those emotions, and then, like family stuff that happens and all of that. And so I feel like being able to read all the things that happened that were good, that were small things, that some of them were small, like got some fresh flowers this week, or, God provided an extra amount of money that I was not expecting, or I received a call from someone that telling me good news, or I had a really good in-depth conversation with my therapist, or I got to the root of this. Like some of them were like small things, but like big. I stayed consistent with the gym 4 times this week. Like that was a win. Like certain things that were happening throughout the year. And being able to read that, like I got emotional, like thinking about how the year went, how much God showed up in my year, and all the little moments and all the time that I spent with the people that I love and care about, that because I'm such a quality time person. So like being able to spend time with people I love and care about is huge for me. And that fills up my tank. So I feel like all the little things, and even when she cultivates all the how many people went to the event, or the feedback that we got, or like a venue that we were able to get, or a partnership, like all these things that I was like, wow, like all those things happened. Maybe I didn't quote unquote reach, right? Because that's how we think sometimes, like I didn't reach this amount in sales, or like I didn't pack out the house, or I didn't, but it's like all these little moments happen that were so good. So it's like, because at the end of the year, we sometimes think about good and bad. Like it was either a terrible year or it was a good year, or like all my highlight reels of like my concerts that I went to. And, I love seeing people's accomplishments and their highlights and everything. But I feel like it's sometimes hard for me to put a year into like, it was all good or all bad, because it's like the ebbs and flows. Like we have good things that happen and bad things. And just understanding that some years will be hard. Like I have had years that I'm like, this is terrible. Like this is the hardest year of my life, and some years that are better, and some years that I traveled a lot, and some years that I didn't travel at all, or some years that I, maybe quote unquote failed at something, or made a mistake, or like, maybe lost something. And then I was like, wow, like maybe some years you win and some years that are better and you gain something. So it's like every year is a blessing and a lesson, and you're still here. So you still have purpose. Like every year has some kind of thing that we can take away from it. But if we put our year into just like, oh, the highs and the lows, then it's like, of course, you're going to think about just mostly the highs or mostly the lows, depending on how your year went. So that is an activity that I did that I recommend. So you can start that today. You can literally grab a jar, get little sticky notes, a pen, and just start writing out. And if you miss a few days, it's okay. Just go back. But just think about little things that are happening in your life that are good, and things that you're seeing happen in your life. And then you save them all, and then you read them on New Year's Eve. So that is something that I'm glad that I did, because sometimes we forget. Like, honestly, I feel like sometimes we're like, what even happened? I know I have asked people when it's like, oh, like, how was your year? Like, are you looking forward to it? They're like, I'm still in 2020. So like some people, it's like, sometimes it's true. Like so much is happening that you're like, what is even happening? So that is kind of my goal going into this year. And I started it off this year is like going slow and steady. Like there's this huge thing too about like, why do we feel like January, which I know is the start of a new year, but it's like the go versus like this is winter time, right? So if you think about the year of like seasons, the spring is when things bloom. So it's like in this time, it's like we're still in the preparation. It's not just like the doing. So that analogy, you can look up more like on social media, they talk about it a lot, but it's like the seasons of life. And so sometimes it's really like the spring, so it's okay to ease into and just be kind of in your hibernation during this time. It doesn't always have to be like, all right, go. Like, but I know that that's like our culture and like what we see on social media. So pretty much when I was thinking about my year too, I wanted to do, which you probably saw it. It was like the dating wrapped. So what that was is that people would like recap their whole dating year and like, this is how many dates I went on, and this is how many were successful, and this is how many were not, and this is where I met them, and this is, all of that stuff. And they were funny. Like for me, I was dying laughing seeing them. But when I thought about doing mine, I'm like, I kind of don't want to, like, I don't want a guy to see like my social media and be like, oh, if I go on a date with her, she's going to leave a review online about me. Like, and she's going to tell the whole world about like our date, good and bad. Like, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to put a guy on blast. And I know it's funny, and I know it gets like the clout and people love it, but I just can't. So literally I did it for my friends and my family. I told them like, this is how many dates I went on. These are my no's, these were my yeses, and just kind of recapping the year, because I was proud of myself for like literally a year ago. I started like on the dating apps, and I started putting myself out there, and I went on a few dates, and I met some people, and I had relatively like overall good dates. Like I had some experiences that were interesting or not favorable, or some questions or things, but like I was able to catch things faster. I was able to like cut things off quicker. I was able to keep my boundaries. I was able to communicate clearly like my expectations, and I went on some fun dates. I did some new things that I hadn't, new experiences that I hadn't, and like I'm glad that I did that. So I feel like it was still a win, even though nothing came out of the dates. But it's like I feel like I just learned more about like what kind of guy I would like and what I'm looking for, which is important in the dating world. So I feel like when I thought about the year, it was like it was good. But also why I don't post a lot of stuff about dating is because some of the guys that I've gone on dates with, they actually started following me on social media. And so if you're watching this, hello. But I last year, so I don't follow this person anymore and they don't follow me of what I know. So this person, I had posted something on social media about like guys and things like that. Just like, I don't even know what it was. Like, it was about like standards or something like that. And he responded to my story and he's like, "Oh, that's about me, isn't it? Like, you don't align with me. Like, I'm the kind of guy like that. That's not the guy for you." And I was like, wait, what? Like, I wasn't even talking about you, but like he took it like personal, like if I was talking about him. And I was like, oh no. And so I had to mute him from my stories. And yeah, I've just had some interesting things of like me posting something and then them taking it like it's about them, or they feel like why I cut them off is because of something that I posted. So I'm like, no, I rather not. Like, I feel like if we dated, we won't, and like we went out on a date and it didn't work out. Like, I think that I rather them not follow me. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's just like a side note, but I know I don't share like much about that stuff, but just know that maybe like in time, I will never mention someone's name, but maybe in time I'll share something. But I'm definitely open for dating in 2024 in real life. So I don't know if I'm going to get on the apps yet, but I definitely want to be more open to meeting people in life. Maybe like at the gym, or maybe like I'm going to like a conference. Like I'm going to a few conferences. So maybe like something like that. Like I'm going to be more intentional. And so I feel like some of the lessons learned, because I feel like I look at, things that I did, like, oh my God, I went here. Like I went on a cruise and I went to Oklahoma for the first time in 13 years and I traveled here. But I feel like I look at years also of like the lessons learned, if you haven't already like noticed. It's like more of like the things that I found or discovered about myself that I can take on to this year. So I wanted to share the lessons of 2023. So the first one is, maybe God won't remove the pain, but he will give you the grace and strength and what you need to endure it. And that hit so much the other day when I was kind of thinking about the year, and I'm like, there's some pain points in my life that haven't gone away. But when I tell you that I'm like able to walk through them differently now, I see that. Like I see how I'm able to navigate them, and I know it's God. Like I know it's him helping me navigate certain situations that still haven't been removed, Lord. But like maybe that's a part of building my character, is to help me navigate certain uncomfortable situations that aren't the best, but he's given me the grace and the strength to endure it. And so that is a lesson that I'm took on from this year of different things, and also moving forward to next year. Another thing that as I was looking about all the things that happened in 2023, I realized how much like God's got us and God's got me in certain things of little moments. Because I feel like we think about the big moments, but all the little moments that God like showed that he's there and that he cares through other people. Sometimes someone saying something encouraging or sending a message to remind me like God sees you. I feel like that is something that's why moving forward, continuing of like putting God in everything that I do. And the power, number 3 is the power of letting people in. I think that for the past few years, I have been through like my shedding of myself, right? And like finding myself, right? But I feel like then like your groups change, your environments change, your friend groups change. And so I feel like allowing new people in was such a blessing this year to connect with different people. And there can be such healing that comes from that. Another thing is you are enough as you are. And so for 2023 dating, which that was a huge one, being able to do stuff in front of the camera. I shared this story with my friend the other day that when I was quote unquote skinnier, right? And I was at a certain, like when I was like, oh, I would love to do this, like the opportunity didn't come. I never had a podcast on video. And now that over this past year, like I felt like it was like, all right, get over yourself. Like I literally felt like it was like, it's not even about your weight. Like no one cares about your weight, like to do what you're doing, to talk in front of people, to bring women together, which she cultivates, to have podcast events, to coordinate, to go on dates, to like live my life, like to post this podcast. Like nobody cares about that. But for so long, I feel like it limited me. And like, I just was so, I don't know, like scared of what people thought about me and like how people perceived me. And like, oh my God, people are going to be like, oh my God, she's gained so much weight. And I felt like that held me back. Like I'm talking about like even going on roller coasters. And I know this might sound silly to people, but I'm just being so honest. When I gained a gradual amount of weight, like not a gradual, a lot of weight over like the past 2 years, I literally was like, oh my God, like I'm scared to even go to amusement parks because what if I don't fit in there? Like I know, and again, maybe someone's like, that is ridiculous. But no, I'm telling you, like, it's like your anxiety and your like thought about yourself, like can stop you from living your life. Like I would be like, oh my God, I don't want to go to the gym now, even though like I should continue going to the gym. But it's like, I like just would like be in my head so much about stuff that wasn't even true. And so I feel like in this past year, I've worked so intentionally with like the mindset of what I'm telling myself and like the belief and like just doing it uncomfortable. Do I sometimes cringe at certain angles that people get me and certain things? Of course, like, but it's not going to stop me from doing what God has called me to do. So I just want to remind someone. And I had a conversation with someone the other day about that, because I'm like, this is the least interesting thing about you. Like, this is the least interesting thing. So just like live your life. Like, girl, go on and live your life. And that was a huge part of this past year of like believing that I can take up space in a space, like, and be enough and be as I am and walk and stay who I am. And there will be people that will be drawn and want to interact with me or want to connect with me because of that, not because I'm someone else, you know? Because I feel like a lot of our early 20s is like morphing yourself into other people and like what you think other people want. So another point was you are not who you were before. The other point was you are not who you were before, and that's a beautiful thing. So the growth that you can see every year of like, wow, maybe it wasn't growth financially or it wasn't growth like physically, but it's like how much more of a changed person on the inside that you are from the year before. And that's a beautiful thing, that you are evolving and changing and growing. Maybe things are bothering you less, or maybe you are more patient or more gentle, or whatever the thing is for you. Like, that those are wins. And so sometimes we, again, think practically of stuff, but that is a win. And another one was that I finally feel, which is a huge part of my podcast that did the most this year, was the one of me telling my child abuse story. And I think that what I grabbed from that was, of course, like people want to know, right, of like traumatic stories of people. And like that's what gets a lot of like clout. But also I feel like it's like the most broken version of me and like the most thing that has been painful to me, God has redeemed that, and I've been able to share it to help others. And that is so freeing, like to be able to tell your story, to be empowered by it, and to not let it be like something that shames you or scars you. Like that is a beautiful thing. And so I feel like I got to see this year how much I've grown, but also how much I've healed through a lot of that, and how I've not let my past or what has happened to me to stop me from living my life. And finding peace with my body, with myself, feeling safe with myself again, which I shared on my, when I did my EMDR of like not feeling safe with my body. I feel like I have been able to do so many things this year that made me start feeling safe back at my home, which my home is my body, right? And like myself. And so coming back to that of like healing my inner child was a big win for this year and was a big lesson to take on for next year of continuously being in touch with my body and sharing my story, more confident than ever, more with more grace, because I see how many people have gone through the same things and how much beauty can come from our brokenness, how much beauty can come from things that are painful and hard. And so those are just some things that I wanted to share with you guys today. And I want you guys to share the lessons that you learned from this year. You know, maybe it wasn't, again, like something of like financial or like you lost this amount of weight or all of that, but maybe you got out of a toxic relationship. Maybe you finally found your voice and put a boundary with someone. Maybe you stuck consistently with something. Like those are wins. Maybe you started cultivating deeper relationships. Maybe you got out of your comfort zone with something. Those are wins. And so I want to validate that. And I'm just excited for what is going to be of this year. I know last year was a lot about community connection, and I know this year will be more of that. I am doing more like event coordinating this year, which I'm excited for, and some conferences and more She Cultivates events, which we are doing a retreat, which I will share soon. And I'm going to be part of some panel events, which I am very excited about. And so just trying to, I feel like, focus on like my career, certain things that I'm working towards, and finally doing a passion project I've been putting off for a few years, but I feel like it's all been in preparation for. So, you know how I was telling you about the years and how I see them, like I feel like they've all been in preparation for what I'm going to do this year. So I'm going to set some time to write, and I will be a year from today, and I'm putting that out there, you will see something physically of my work of something. So I'm working towards that this year, towards making intentional time for that, and for my health, making sure to heal holistically. And so that's why I'm doing certain foods and taking certain things slower, because I don't want that to affect my body. I see how stress and all those things affect people at like 50. So it's like, I know if I continue, that can affect me, you know? So I want to work on that. I want to create deeper connections, and maybe be open to a relationship. I don't know. But I definitely want to travel more this year and just feel more, give more back also to the community, and kind of find ways to connect with you guys more, to bring you guys on, to either maybe do voice notes of what questions you have or comments or anything like that, and see how we can connect more in real life. Because I feel like that is really going to happen, that more people are going to want to do more in-person things than ever before and connect with people. Because I feel like there's one thing to be online, but in person, it's something else. And so my ins and outs, you can check them out on social media at Elizabeth Sabby. I shared like a whole list on social media of all the things that I wanted to do, of putting God first, being assertive in 2024, being clear, being just like more restful, not being so rushed to do things. I guess intentional is the word. And then also staying consistent, being disciplined in certain practices. And yeah, so share with me your ins and outs of 2024 and things that you're looking forward to. I really hope that you challenge yourself. And someone asked me the other day when I posted about the improv class. They're like, oh my God, I would never, like, that's so scary. And I'm like, girl, you don't have to. Like, trust me, I feel like I put myself in very uncomfortable situations. But when I think about myself 5 years ago, I would have never done that stuff. And so I want to challenge you to at least do one thing to get out of your comfort zone this month or next month. Go to that event, sign up for that dance class that you've been wanting to do, sign up for something that you've been wanting to go to, do something that's going to push you out of your comfort zone. If it's that you want to be better at public speaking or your social anxiety, or you want to get out of a rut that you're in, like do something to help you to do that. I know that right now it's like the push of the goals and like be this and that. But I feel like it's the little habits that you do every day that matter, and putting them on a piece of paper, like seeing out what you want your life to be, like pray about it, pray over your dreams and your goals, and ask God to align your heart and to guide you. But also things that we can do practically to help with that. Because I know that with like certain things, it's putting yourself in positions, like how I shared this about this year. A lot of the things were things that what I felt at the moment was like, oh, nope, I don't want to do it. No, I want to stay. But I was like, no, this is going to help me to get to where I want to be. So I'm going to put myself in those situations to practice. It's like a tool. It's like a training. So do those little things for yourself. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I feel like with this chair, it's a very like sit down, like just come in and let's chat. So I like this vibe. Like I honestly like this vibe because I feel like I can talk more casually than like when you're at a desk. But we'll see how the setup goes. Very excited for this year though, and I am so glad that you tuned into this week's podcast episode. Make sure to share it with a friend. Let me know your thoughts on this episode. Don't forget to leave a review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen, and make sure to follow me at Elizabeth Savvy for more content. So I will see you guys next week, and have a great one.